has the pressure between Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski. And pressure is a massive disadvantage. And if we could correctly identify who has the pressure, we can tell who has the advantage. If Islam has the pressure, Volkanovski has the advantage, and vice versa. And expectation is what creates pressure. And pressure isn't just mental, it's also physical. Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena. Go watch that fight. That is the best example I can think of. Where pressure created a fatigue. Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz won. Go watch that as well. Because expectation creates pressure, and pressure creates a fatigue. And the expectation is on Islam. It's all on Islam. A lot of people are saying that this guy, that is the next best thing. That Islam Makhachev will beat Volk because Volk is just too small. He's just not. There's a reason on why they made weight classes. That is what people are saying. And they give Islam Makhachev very high expectations. Very high. He's a massive underdog. Or he's a massive favorite, I mean. And before you tell me that Volkanovski isn't that big of an underdog, that number isn't that massive, well, if you consider that Volkanovski is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world and he's that big of an underdog, I can call that a massive underdog. And there's massive expectation for Islam. Massive expectation. Because we've seen him dominate Charles Oliveira. But I've also seen Islam Makhachev fight in a crowd where everybody's cheering his name. Everybody is cheering his name like it's home soil. Everybody's cheering him. From the crowd to the betting odds, everybody is cheering him, including me. I put very high expectation on Islam Makhachev. Everybody said that Islam Makhachev will dominate Oliveira. Everybody did, and everybody that didn't, they knew. They just didn't want to tell you. Because they've been doubting Oliveira for a very long time and they don't want to be mistaken again. So they tell you that this guy will not be dominated. And that is what he did. We put so much pressure on Islam Makhachev. He's such a big favorite. He's fighting on home soil. The crowd looks like he's fighting in home soil. Everybody's cheering his name. He's fighting in enemy territory. He's a favorite. And all this pressure on him, he pretended like it's nothing. He went in there and fought Oliveira just like how they wanted to. And he delivered. He truly delivered. He put on a performance against Oliveira that made us think that he will now beat the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. There's so much expectation on Islam for this one. But I've also seen him have a lot of expectation in his last fight, and him just not feel anything. He didn't feel any pressure. He felt nothing. He performed exactly the way he envisioned. I mean, what a performance from Islam. With that much pressure on him, he performed like that. That's incredible. And people will say that Volkanovski doesn't have the pressure, that there's no expectation on him. Well, he's fighting in home soil. He's fighting in a crowd where everybody's cheering his name, where everybody is yelling Volkanovski. If I was Aussie and I didn't know nothing about the sport, I knew zero about the sport. And I know that this guy named Volkanovski is an Australian and he's gonna be fighting in home, so I'd be cheering his name as well. I mean, that is what everybody would be doing in that arena. Everybody would be cheering Volkanovski. But I've seen Volkanovski deal with that. Because when you're fighting in home soil, there's massive expectation when it comes to the arena, when it comes to the octagon. People will be cheering your name. People will be expecting you to win. They're cheering for you. And not because they think you're gonna win, it's just because they don't know who Islam Makhachev is. And when there is expectation on Volkanovski, there will be pressure. But I've seen Volkanovski deal with this multiple times, where everybody's cheering his name. Pundits are all clamoring his name and the betting odds, cheering him on, saying that he's gonna win. People are putting their money on the line because they believe that they will make a profit off Volkanovski winning. They are willing to put their money. That's how much they believe that this guy's gonna win. That much expectation on this guy that they're gonna bet their money on it. And Volkanovski deals with that like it's nothing. He performs well under that much expectation, under that much pressure. He just performs masterfully. And I don't believe for a second that Volkanovski will change that. That Volkanovski will now start to feel that pressure. I also don't believe that Islam will now start to feel that pressure. But maybe they could. I mean, with this level of skill, there's massive expectation. When you're the number one pound for pound fighter in the world, there's expectation that you should beat the guy below you in the ranking. When you're Islam Makhachev and you have that much expectation on you, people will believe that you will win. People will believe that you will win that much that they're willing to put their money on the line. I mean, that could change. All of a sudden, they could start feeling the pressure. So when people ask, who has the pressure? That's not the question. The question is, who will feel that pressure?